The knock on the door came just as the sun hit the water. I was still unpacking my tools when a woman in a floral blouse and a name badge shouted, "You can't be here! This cabin is under HOA jurisdiction." I blinked, wiping my hands on my jeans. HOA? Ma'am, this cabin's been abandoned for 20 years. I just bought it. She strutted closer, her perfume hitting before her words. That's not how it works here. You can't just show up and start claiming land. This is a community property zone. I tried to stay calm. I've got the deed right inside if you'd like to see it. She crossed her arms and smirked. Save it for the police. I thought she was bluffing until I saw her on her phone, whispering fast, eyes darting toward my truck. 2 minutes later, a black SUV with flashing lights rolled up. My stomach sank. "Sir, we got a report of trespassing," one of the officers said, stepping out. The woman, Karen, as the name tag confirmed, pointed straight at me. "That's him! He broke into community property!" I raised my hand slightly. "Look, officer, my name's Ben Carter. I bought this property legally. Got the paperwork in the cabin." But Karen wasn't done. "He's lying! He's been here for days, tearing down fences, cutting locks." The officer's tone hardened. "Sir, we'll need you to step aside." I could feel heat building behind my neck. Something about this didn't feel like a misunderstanding. It felt planned. Her grin said it all. "Go ahead," I said slowly, keeping my voice level. "But when you see who actually owns this land, I hope you're ready to apologize." Karen laughed sharply. "Oh, honey, people like you don't own beaches around here." That line stuck like a thorn. She had no idea who I was or what I used to do. And as the officer followed her toward the cabin, I quietly tapped the side of my truck. The small red light blinked twice. Security cameras were already rolling. Karen marched ahead like she was leading the whole operation. The officer followed, cautious, but clearly listening more to her than to me. I stayed by the truck, hands still, heart steady. I'd dealt with worse, way worse, but this was my land, and the thought of being treated like a criminal on it made my jaw tighten. They reached the porch. Karen pointed at the half-broken fence I'd started replacing. "See? He ripped down community fencing. That's destruction of HOA property." I stepped closer, keeping my tone even. "That fence was rotten through. I'm fixing it so it doesn't collapse on anyone." Karen turned, eyes sharp. "You don't touch anything here without HOA approval." The officer hesitated, glancing between us. "Sir, do you have proof of ownership?" "Inside. The deed's framed on the kitchen counter." Karen snorted. "Framed? Yeah, right. Probably printed off the internet." I said nothing, just opened the door and gestured for them to come in. The smell of sea salt and old wood filled the air as we stepped inside. Papers lay neatly stacked on the counter along with the envelope from the county office. The officer picked it up, reading carefully. His brows drew together. Karen leaned in, trying to peek. "It's real," he muttered. Karen blinked. "That can't be. The HOA owns this stretch of land." I met her eyes. "Not anymore. The old owner sold it last winter. Full rights, shoreline included." Her smile twitched, fading fast. "That's not possible. There must be a mistake." I folded my arms. "There's no mistake. You've been trespassing since the moment you stepped on this porch." For the first time, she looked unsure. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced down and froze. "Problem?" I asked quietly. She slipped the phone into her purse. "No, but you'll regret this." The officer sighed and handed my papers back. "Sorry for the confusion, sir." Karen turned on her heel and stormed out, muttering under her breath. I watched her car speed away, tires spitting sand. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Women like her didn't just walk away, they regrouped. And when my phone vibrated with a new message from an unknown number that read, "You don't belong here, Ben," I realized she wasn't done. Not even close.
That night, the beach was too quiet. The waves were soft, the sky dim, and the wind barely moved. But the feeling, that cold prick on the back of my neck, didn't leave. I sat on the porch, coffee in hand, when headlights appeared far down the dirt road. Too late for visitors. The car stopped right by the gate I'd just fixed. 2 figures got out. One was Karen, the other a man in a dark jacket. They didn't see me in the shadows. I watched as she pointed at the cabin, whispering something fast and angry. The man nodded, pulled out a folded paper, and slapped it on my gate. I walked down slowly. "You two working late?" She jumped. "You again? You can't just sneak up on people." "Hard not to," I said, eyeing the paper. "What's that supposed to be?" "It's a notice," she snapped. "You're violating HOA ordinances. You can't have a private gate on public access property." I couldn't help but smile. "Public access? You're sure about that?" Her companion stepped forward. "Sir, I'm from the HOA Enforcement Committee. This land falls under our coastal protection rules." "Funny, because the county map says otherwise." I tapped the screen showing the updated zoning files I'd downloaded earlier. The HOA border stops half a mile inland. This entire shoreline, mine. Her face hardened. "You think a few files prove anything? We have authority." I raised my eyebrow. "Do you? Because last I checked, pretending to be law enforcement or forging notices is a federal offense." Her eyes flickered, just for a second, enough for me to see it. "You're bluffing," she hissed. "Try me," I said quietly. "Everything you've done today, it's all on camera." The man beside her shifted uncomfortably. "Karen, maybe we should—" "Shut up," she snapped, then turned back to me. "You'll regret crossing me. The HOA always wins." She tore the notice off the gate and threw it at my feet before storming back to her car. The engine roared, tail lights vanishing into the darkness. I bent down, picked up the paper, and froze. The letterhead wasn't just fake. It carried a signature, one I recognized. Richard Bowman, County Property Officer, my old boss. And if his name was on that paper, this wasn't just Karen anymore. Someone bigger was behind her. The next morning, I drove straight to the county office. The ocean fog was thick, but my mind was sharper than ever. If Karen had Bowman's signature, she wasn't acting alone. She had help from inside. At the counter, a young clerk looked up. "Can I help you, sir?" "Yeah," I said, sliding the fake HOA notice across the glass. "This document came from someone in your office. I need to know who authorized it." She glanced at it, frowning. "Looks like Bowman's signature, but he's been on leave for a month." I leaned in. "You're sure?" She nodded. "Positive. He's under investigation for missing property records." Something clicked hard in my chest. Missing records, land transfers, my beach. "Thanks," I said, pocketing the paper and walking out fast. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. This time it wasn't a message. It was a video. I tapped play. Karen stood in front of my cabin, smiling at the camera. "Enjoy your view while you can, Ben," she said sweetly, "because soon it won't be yours." Behind her, 2 construction trucks idled, engines running. My stomach turned cold. By the time I got back, the trucks were already there, hauling wood, digging into the sand. A man in a hard hat waved a clipboard. "You the owner? We've got a work order from the HOA. Says we're clearing this for new beach access." "Turn those machines off," I barked. Karen appeared from behind the truck, wearing sunglasses and that smug grin. "Sorry, Ben, you ignored the notice. We're just enforcing community improvements." I stepped between her and the bulldozer. "Touch one more plank of my land and you'll regret it." She tilted her head. "Oh, threatening me now? Perfect. I'll add that to the police report." I took a slow breath. "You're trespassing. Again." She smirked. "Prove it." I lifted my phone, pressed play on my security feed, and turned it toward her. Every second from last night, her fake notice, her threats, everything recorded in crystal clarity. The color drained from her face. You
You recorded me? Everything, I said flatly, and the sheriff's about to see it. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. Just that stiff smile of someone who knew the walls were closing in. But before I could take another step, one of the construction guys shouted, "Boss, we got a problem." Everyone turned toward the shore. The waves were dragging something out of the sand, something metal, buried deep. Karen frowned. "What is that?" I stepped closer, heart pounding, a rusted steel hatch marked with faded military symbols. And I suddenly realized this land had more secrets than either of us knew.